Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, and today we have a familiar face with us and a dear friend, Dr. Altha Stewart. She is the Senior Associate Dean for Community Health right here in Memphis, Tennessee. She is at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. She is also quite known not only in Memphis and in Tennessee, but around the United States and around the world. She served as the past president of the American Psychiatric Association. She was also the first African American to lead the association, which is comprised of 38,000 physicians. Altha, Dr. Stewart, it's such a pleasure for you to be back today. I just want to thank you for making time.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Chairman Billingsley. And on this particular day, it's really a pleasure to share some information and to have this dialogue with you. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Stewart, let's talk about that just for a second. Let's give them a little teaser. You're wearing a really pretty green today. Tell us what the symbolism of that is.
Today, thank you for that great lead in. Today is National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. It's part of a week-long series of celebrations across the country in honor of recognizing, becoming aware, and getting educated about the important issues facing children and their good mental health. In Memphis, the University of Tennessee is leading a week of celebrations that will conclude on Saturday. Today, for example, we've done media, including your show, thank you, but we've done a webinar for parents and caregivers to help them deal with challenges facing them when they have their children at home during the sheltering at home for the pandemic. We're doing lots of meetings with virtual meetings, of course, on other topics with the community. On our website at the University of Tennessee, we have activities for kids. We have tips for parents. We've got a fact sheet for talking with children about coronavirus and all kinds of things. We're actually running this week from Sunday through Saturday. We're running a contest for kids to draw.
Oh, wow.
To draw what hope looks like to them, because we know so many kids are being challenged during these times. So we're asking people to go on our website, take a look at the contest rules. Kids can just get a piece of paper and pen or a pencil or crayons and draw something. The parent, if they can't scan it, they can take a picture and upload it to our Facebook page. It's the Center for Health and Justice Involved Youth is our Facebook page. The letters are CHJIY on Facebook. And our website is on the University of Tennessee Health Science Center website, which is uthsc.edu. We've got a list of our activities. And just as another special tease for everyone who's around the downtown area tonight, as the sun is going down, take a look around and see if there are any green landmarks lighting up around you.
Really good. Really, really good. Well, let's get right into it, Dr. Stewart. COVID-19 has disrupted all of us. Earlier today, I was talking with some business leaders. I also, as you know, I work at your alma mater, Christian Brothers University. We're talking about our students and how they're adapting in the midst of COVID. You know, it's put a lot of stress on young, old, but especially our children. And as we talk about mental health this week, and especially youth, what are the signs that we're seeing in children?
Well, kids, although they can be quite resilient, what we have is a total disruption of what they know to be normal. However angry or however much acting out and behavioral challenges any child has, this kind of disruption only magnifies those things. We've got kids now who've been out of school since their spring break began and will probably not return until later in the fall. We've got kids who are now for the full day at home in the under the supervision of parents or family members or others for whom this is a new experience. We're used to kids during this time of the year going off to school, spending the day in school, Before school, we see them. After school, we see them. Now we have them 24/7. And we're all getting, as I said earlier, just a little anxious about being cooped up together. So this is new for everybody. But it's especially difficult for kids because developmentally, they're depending on their age, they're at a point where consistency and stability is what helps them get through the day. For younger children, it's knowing that they have a schedule of things that they're going to be expected to do. And whether that's going to daycare or school or to grandma's for the day because she keeps them while mom and dad are working, whatever that is, it's been totally disrupted. And kids don't do well with the uncertainty plus the disruption. Disruption is one thing. The uncertainty about tomorrow is a whole other problem that they are facing. We've got young people who are so distraught that their parents have to go out because they've been hearing on the news that this virus kills. They're so
Right.
distraught that a family member is going out to work and they don't know if they're going to come back, that they are actually having panic attacks. And anxiety attacks, having to go to emergency rooms to get calmed down because they can't be comforted. For older children, it means a disruption in the way they have come to understand their lives. They have friends, they do things together. Now we can't let them do those things, and they understand they don't like it. They understand, and at that age, your whole job is around bucking the system and authority. And so every time you say, no, you can't go out with your friends, it's like, why not? Why am I being held hostage? Or I'm bored. I can't tell you the number of families who talk to me about my child just keeps saying they're bored. What do I do with that? And we do have some tips that we offer to families to help them manage the changes that are going on in their homes.
Wow. I've got two teenagers at home that are pretty well balanced, positive kids. They're active academically and they're active in sports. But even in my own kids, they're two great children. I've got a junior in high school and I've got a sophomore in high school. But I've found, typically I can't find my teenagers. They don't want to spend a whole lot of time with
Mhm.
mom and dad. To get them to the dinner table is very difficult usually. But, lately, uh, my own kids have said, what are you doing today? Where are you going to be today? I've had our own teenage children come to the dinner table without asking.
Mhm.
Um, they seem to be a little worried about mom and dad. They
Mhm.
see me talking about COVID-19 a lot. They see my wife saying the same things, and we're most likely looking at a Mother's Day coming up where I won't see my mother, my wife won't see her parents, my
Mhm.
kids won't see their grandparents. But even in the most positive kids, I'm seeing anxiety and even a little bit of just disruption.
Yeah.
How do you that's for kids that don't have a lot of needs. We're doing the show today out of Memphis, Tennessee, where we have 25% poverty. We have a
Mhm.
lot of disparities in our community, and COVID-19 has especially hit hard those people with healthcare disparities.
Mhm.
uh, how does the disparities with mental health relate to this COVID-19?
Oh, they're just as magnified as the physical health disparities and the medical problems are. What we're seeing in many of these populations that you were just describing is that anxiety and concern and fear gets magnified because these are people with limited resources. When we say to people, you need to self-isolate, you need to socially distant, it's very hard to imagine how you do that when you live in a household with multiple generations who
Right.
may have various kinds of vulnerabilities health wise, and you have to go out to work because you're the main source of support. We say to you, wear a mask. When you come home, take off your clothes, launder them,
Right.
and, try to stay away from people, take a shower, try to stay away from people. But imagine if you don't have a garage, if you don't have a washer and dryer, how do you then interpret, how do I protect my family? I've got to go to work. but I want to protect my family. And if you've got kids and they're concerned, and you've got elderly relatives that you're taking care of who may be vulnerable, that you were the caretaker for, but now you're afraid to be there with them for fear of passing on the virus. There are so many things that people in some communities, especially brown and black communities, are juggling just to make life make sense these days. And that's an awful lot of strain and stress, and it can result in anxiety, depression, panic attacks, exacerbation of existing medical problems. If you have hypertension, or you have diabetes, or you have a cardiac problem, or you have to get to dialysis, any of those things from the medical standpoint are going to be aggravated when your nerves are bad, as one of my folks told me. My nerves are just bad these days. I can't settle down. That's a lot for anybody. And when you don't have the resources, when you are part of that group that lives under the poverty level in this city, you simply don't have a lot of resources.
Let me ask you this: when you don't have the resources, and let's say you're that single mom, that son or daughter is very anxious because you're all that they have.
Mhm.
Is it best for parents to be honest with their child, to say, I am worried about COVID-19. I am worried about this virus. We're going to get through this. Dr. Stewart, I mean, again, I don't know the answer to this. I'm asking you, is it better for parents to sugarcoat what's going on? Or is it better to be honest with your kids, to say, Johnny or Susie, I am worried? What are the things you say to a child that you see in crisis?
If we want children to really come out of this more resilient and trusting of us, then we have to be straight up front and honest with them. There is no way to sugarcoat the fact that we're in the middle of a global crisis. There is no way to sugarcoat that what you're seeing on the news whenever you watch it is stuff that is real and serious. Bodies lined up, death numbers of people who died today from this virus. Those are things that we simply can't deny and sugarcoat. I have always advised that parents be honest, but right now I'm advising them, depending on the age of the child and their level of understanding, we have to communicate with them. Yes, this is serious. Yes, I am worried too. And yes, I am concerned that there could be something that happens that, disrupts our lives, whether it's me getting sick, or someone dying, or losing a job, or, not being able to get food or something. But I know we're going to get through this. I'm able to either work or ask for help as we need it. I'm going to continue to do my best to take care of you. And I want you to understand that I am here for you. I support you. I'm prepared to answer any question. And if you're really upset, I'm going to find somebody else to help me help you.
Let me ask you about resources. If you're that single mom trying to raise a child, or you're trying to raise numerous children, and you're trying to take care of grandma, which again, in our community, we have a lot of families where, as you say, we have multiple generations underneath one roof. And again, we all have parents that are getting older and need
Mhm.
assistance. What resources do those people who are especially underserved, what resources do they have? Where are they to go, or what can they even do on their own to try to alleviate some of that anxiety for them and for their children?
Well, I think you and I know that Memphis is a very giving community. And during times of crisis, we band together and help each other. We are fortunate that both our county, thanks to your leadership, and our city governments all are offering a multitude of services and supports. And you get them through going to their websites and finding out what they offer that may meet your need. If you can't get online, if you don't have access to the internet, you dial 211 and you ask the questions of that service about where do I go for, whether it's food distribution, clothes, help with schoolwork for my kid. bus passes to get back and forth to work. You reach out. This is the time when I am encouraging people to not be embarrassed or ashamed to ask for help. You can go to one of the government agencies, you can go to your church, you can go to community organizations, and for services, especially mental health services, you can call. Most of the mental health services in town are open. Some of them are doing telehealth and using the internet or FaceTime or the telephone, but all of them are available if you reach out and ask, I need help for myself or my child. They will all respond. We know, for example, with children, we've got two great partners that I work with at the University of
Hmm.
Tennessee who made it clear that if people call asking for help, send them our way. We will help them. One is Alliance Healthcare, which has locations all over
Hmm.
town in Fraser, in South West Memphis, in the old Church Health Center site on Peabody. They've got a location on Vance. They've got a multitude of sites, so they're in most areas of town. Youth Villages also has multiple campuses, and their program. They have a specific program called the Anaya program, which is designed to help people who may not have resources to get the services. That's what they're there for. And you can call them the Youth Villages Anaya program. Le Bonheur has its pediatric clinic is now staffed with mental health professionals as part of the team. So if your child needs to go for their well child visit or a physical or something, you can ask if you can talk with someone there and tell them what's going on. We have people in this city both on the health and the mental health side and the social service side. You know, if
Hmm.
you're in need of help with your utilities or rent or you got a legal problem, there are groups in town that are getting together to assure that's available. We have multiple food distribution sites. Most of the churches, many of the community organizations, we're even looking at ways to join the food distribution with the COVID testing sites that are coming up. You know now, Commissioner, that we can actually get testing without having to have symptoms in Shelby County.
Yes.
And so I'm encouraging people to go out and get tested. We want you to know. It'll give you a bit of comfort to know if at that moment you are not positive, you may still get positive later because the way this virus works, you can be negative one day and the virus is there and it turns positive in another, but at least you know that you're not positive, which is a whole different thing because then you know what you can do and what you can't do.
Well, if you're just tuning in, we're on the chairman's perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners in Memphis, Tennessee. And today we're with Dr. Altha Stewart. She's senior associate dean for community health at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Stewart, we talked about anxiety and depression for children that happens many times just in the routine, ordinary day. But now with COVID-19, they're not able to go outside as much. They're not going to school. They don't have a routine. They're not seeing their teachers. That for a lot of our kids in our community, it's the second mom or father that they have.
Mhm.
We've seen that a lot. But in terms of things we can do for ourselves and things we can feed our children or things we should not do, give us your recommendations if you're a parent in terms of, are there foods that might make you feel a little bit down or a little more anxious? Are there some foods that children should maybe avoid? Also, in terms of TV, I think turning on the TV for me, quite honestly, makes me anxious these days. You can only listen to so much of COVID-19. So, in terms of what kids should be watching or not watching, is it good to get them to try to sign off from the TV and even sign off from the telephone and
Mhm.
off social media? What's your guidance for parents on that?
Well, whether it's a child or a parent, I am encouraging people to stop watching nonstop news. I think one of the things that is creating the most distress is the 24-hour news cycle. And wake up in the morning with the news all day now that we're home, and then you have it on all evening, even if it's a break to just turn it off and do something else. That's important. And certainly children should not, no matter what their age, children should not be watching the television news or listening to the radio news or watching breaking news updates on their devices all day long. It is unhealthy. It lends itself to creating anxiety and distress and concern and fear, and it's just not healthy. And there are other things we can do to fill the day. I've been working with some folks on how to help parents structure the day so that their work day and the child's school day don't conflict so much. All of us who are working from home now know, have seen in our own, either in our own homes or on the screen as we watch someone else, the child who burst into the room because they've got to have mommy or daddy right there. And that's a challenge when your office now is your dining room table or your kitchen
Right.
table or your home office. And so we are encouraging people to set up schedules that start with a family meeting, similar to the morning meeting you might have at work, where everyone looks at the schedule, sees what their jobs are, and then has their part of the schedule with them so that they can go through their day. And with kids, it's important that you help them organize, because they are not by nature going to organize themselves. They're going to do it kind of as it comes to them and when the feeling hits, and they're going to avoid some things altogether. Schoolwork, taking out the trash, cleaning up their room, not hitting their little brother or sister are not high on their list of things not to do. So if you start with that and you lay out the framework for this household now runs like we all have jobs to do. And your job is schoolwork, my job is my work, and we're going to build in time during the day where you get some breaks, I get some breaks. Some of those breaks will be together. Some of those breaks you can have free time. And in your break time, there are things you can and cannot do. High on my list now, because parents keep asking, is could you just tell them not to hit their little brother, because then they start screaming, then I've got to go in, and then it gets quiet, and then I know something's up. So we're encouraging people to add that to the list, particularly for older kids, that one of the things on your list that you cannot do is terrorize your little brother or sister. Other than that, you can talk on the phone, you can play games, you can do your video game thing, but that's your time, and you can actually be outside in our yard or within eyesight, but you can't go visit friends, you can't run around the corner, you can't ride your bike a mile or any of that stuff. And if we set it up like that, then the kids begin to understand that their schedule that they were used to in school, they got there, they went to homeroom, they did classes maybe from room to room, but sometimes in the same place, and then they had lunch, they went back to class, and they came home. If we structure things similar, it helps them stay within some organized framework, and it gives you a lot of peace of mind. There are also some rules that come with working at home that older kids have got to agree to, and younger kids have got to be helped to understand. I've seen pictures on social media where parents have done a variety of creative things, everything from closing the door and putting something on that says, mommy in a business meeting, to covering over the door so you can't see in, and making the sign for stop on the door. So there are a lot of creative ways to do it, and depending on the child's age, do what's age appropriate to help them understand this is work. It's just like when mommy goes in the morning to go to work. Well, mommy's going to work now, except she's doing it at home, and the same rule applies. If you call me or you text me, it better be important, because I'm probably very busy and I'm not going to be happy at being interrupted for a non-emergency. And, young kids need attention. They need stability. They want the security of holding on to you. And that can be a bit much when you're trying to chair a meeting of your peers and they can see you and the kids hanging around your neck, just saying, mommy, mommy, mommy. So there has to be some balance between how you structure your household and the rules that you put in place, and the ability of the child, depending on their age, to understand and comply.
Again, if you're just joining the show, we're with Dr. Altha Stewart. She is the Senior Associate Dean for Community Health at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center here in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Stewart, you're nationally known for being an expert with children who've experienced some type of traumatic situation. When you get back together with your colleagues across the country. And again, you've served as the president of the American Psychiatric Association, 38,000 physicians. As you and your colleagues start looking post COVID, will you say, will y'all, I'm curious, will you agree that COVID-19 was a traumatic experience for children?
Oh, yes, we agree now that it is now and it will be going forward for some time to come. We recognize that many people who live through this are going to come out on the other side with the signs and symptoms of having experienced a tremendous and significant trauma. And we're hoping that because of what we're learning about how people are or are not coping with what's going on now, that we can make some good policy recommendations, both at the local level as well as the national level. I mean, Commissioner, think about it. Right now, we knew before COVID that we didn't have enough mental health services in Shelby County. We
Right.
knew that people were going without service every day. We knew that people couldn't get hospitalized. People were winding up in jail who really ought to be in treatment. We knew many of the homeless actually had mental illness. We knew many children who were being suspended and expelled and directed into the juvenile justice system were really kids who had been traumatized or had untreated mental illness. We knew all of that before we heard about COVID-19 or coronavirus. We knew it. So now imagine layering on that all of the things that are going on now: fear, anxiety, frustration, job loss, unstable housing, losing your house, kids being out of school, losing time. The kids, and while it's not a tragic thing, kids who were prepared to graduate high school and begin the next phase of their lives have had to put off that
Right.
most important transitional period from childhood into young adulthood. And they'll get past that. And I'm pleased that so many communities are coming up with ways to still celebrate them virtually, or having those parades through the schoolyard, or passing out the diploma in the car. I'm glad those things are happening, but these kids are feeling deprived of something that they've looked forward to, that we've told them, have this as your North Star. When you
Right.
achieve that, it'll be great. I remember graduating from Christian Brothers and how
Hmm.
pleased I was with myself and how proud my family was. And that whole marching across the
Yep.
stage and turning your tassel, those are seminal moments in our growth and development, that we are now looking at a whole generation of children not being able to experience, much like the kids who were born and raised during 9/11 and the aftermath. There are significant occurrences, and we call them trauma, but they're life experiences that are going to stay with them forever. And how they manage that, how they recover, how they become resilient as a part of that will all depend on what we adults do, who have the power to make good decisions, create great programs for supporting them, and do the things like you at Christian Brothers have done, and reach out to every single student and say, "How are you? How are you doing? You need anything? We care about you." That caring, compassion, consistent presence of an adult who believes in you, who supports you, and who, however you define it, loves you, is
Right.
so important to how well or not these kids will recover.
Well, Dr. Stewart, I cannot thank you enough for everything you've done in this community, the shadow of a leader that you have cast, not only locally in Memphis, but across the country, across the world. We've only got about a minute left, but again, we're with Dr. Altha Stewart from the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. We've been talking about mental health, especially for youth in the midst of COVID-19. Just some parting words from you. And again, if you could reinforce, if somebody is out there and listening and needs to know more, they need help with their child. Again, if you'll just reinforce and share with us one more time where they can go and who they should talk to.
Well, if because we've only got a minute, let me encourage people to call us at the University of Tennessee. The
Perfect.
number is 901-448-4200. 901-448-4200. And Commissioner, if I could just say in closing,
Please.
if If all of our leaders will be as understanding and aware as you are of the broad range of issues and make good policy and funding decisions based on this kind of information, we will go a long way in helping our kids and families and citizens get through this in one piece. Thank you.
We've got a lot of work to do, Dr. Stewart. Keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you soon. Again, you've been listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the Kazukia Network. I'm Shelby County Commissioner Mark Billingsley, wishing everyone a blessed, happy, and healthy week, and we'll be back soon on the Chairman's Perspective. Thank you.